The Sahel Skyway, the African megaproject nobody believed could survive. What kind of leader dares to lift an entire highway above a burning desert and defy the fate of a nation with a single decision? In the heart of West Africa, where the Harmattan winds carve scars across the land, one man stepped forward with a vision that seemed impossible even to his closest allies. In November 2025, President Ibrahim Traoré presented not merely an infrastructure plan, but a national awakening. A highway suspended 12 meters above the dunes, stretching like a steel horizon across 7 provinces. They call it the Sahel Skyway, but for millions it is something far greater, a rebellion against geography, a refusal to accept the limits history imposed on Burkina Faso. What began as a technical proposal has become a symbol of identity, endurance, and sovereignty. Stay with this story until the end, because what unfolds next reveals how one rising nation challenged both nature and doubt and began rewriting Africa's infrastructure future. The Sahel Skyway was born from desperation as much as vision. For decades, Burkina Faso lived at the mercy of the desert. Roads vanished under layers of sand deep enough to bury trucks, markets collapsed under isolation, and entire communities waited days for essential goods that might never arrive. Between 2017 and 2023 alone, over 21,000 shipments stalled or spoiled in transit. Every dry season was a test, and the nation was running out of breath. President Ibrahim Traoré understood a truth that had haunted every leader before him. If the country did not rise above the sand, it would sink beneath it. On March 12, 2024, he unveiled an audacious proposal. A 186-kilometer elevated highway built 12 meters above the dunes, supported by over 1,800 heat-resistant pillars designed to withstand the Sahel's wrath. It was a plan many foreign observers dismissed as fantasy. But inside Burkina Faso, where the stakes were not theoretical but lived every single day, the announcement felt like oxygen. For the first time in decades, people dared to imagine a future not dictated by the desert's mood. Construction began with a mix of urgency and national pride. By mid-2025, approach roads were nearly complete. By October, 920 pillars had already risen from the sand like a forest of steel. Traders recalculated profits, clinics anticipated steady medicine deliveries, and drivers from remote provinces spoke of the day when a journey that once took days would take hours. What began as an engineering venture was slowly becoming a collective heartbeat. But then came the test, the kind that transforms a project into legend. In December 2024, the Sahel was struck by one of the longest and harshest Harmattan waves in recent memory. For 19 days straight, winds howled at 62 kilometers per hour, turning the horizon into a blur of dust and fire. Visibility dropped to 30 meters, temperatures soared, and the desert launched its assault directly at the heart of the Skyway. Within 6 days, over 1,000 newly installed pillars were buried beneath nearly 2 meters of sand. Damage mounted into the tens of millions. Engineering crews pushed forward against winds strong enough to shake scaffolding like thin reeds. Tools overheated, concrete cracked, and the sun turned the metal infrastructure into blistering sheets of heat. Yet in the midst of this chaos, the workers did not fold. They adapted. Shifts began at 4:30 a.m., racing the sun. Water trucks sprayed the air to reduce dust density, and rotating teams performed constant thermal checks to prevent microfractures. Still, morale wavered until the moment President Traoré arrived unannounced at the storm's height. Eyewitnesses said he walked directly into the wind, sand striking his coat like needles, to inspect the battered pillars himself. One engineer later recalled, "When he stood there with us, it felt like the desert blinked first." Traoré said only one line: "If the desert rises, we rise higher." It was enough. As his word spread, volunteers from nearby provinces joined the crews, and the entire nation began following the construction like a national struggle, a symbolic battle between a young country and an ancient landscape. When the storm finally subsided, photos of the battered site spread across the world. Half-buried pillars defiantly protruding from the dunes, cranes frozen mid-lift like monuments to resilience. International media took notice. While some Western analysts questioned the Skyway's viability, comparing it to a financial gamble in one of Earth's harshest climates, others began to see a possibility where they once saw only risk. American logistics experts released a study concluding that the Skyway could cut regional transport times by 63%, a staggering number with transformative implications. One U.S. analyst wrote, "Traore is doing for the Sahel what Eisenhower did for America." As support and skepticism clashed abroad, inside Burkina Faso the impact was undeniable. Even before completion, transport costs dropped by 37%. Fresh produce arrived before wilting. Fuel shortages eased. And in B province, an emergency access ramp reduced ambulance travel times by 42 minutes, enough to save lives. But with progress came politics. By August 2025, the National Assembly entered a heated 17-day debate. Opponents warned of debt traps, regional favoritism, and political overreach. Supporters argued the Skyway was the nation's best chance at breaking free from structural isolation. Outside Parliament, crowds gathered holding banners reading, "We want progress, not excuses." For the first time in years, ordinary citizens, farmers, drivers, market vendors, shaped the national debate. Their lived experience outweighed political theater. The turning point arrived when a consortium of engineers presented economic models showing the Skyway could generate $2.3 billion in additional trade within 5 years, outpacing its construction cost faster than any project in Burkina Faso's history. The chamber fell silent. Day's lending bill passed. Then came an unexpected twist. Not political, but scientific. In September 2025, a group of young engineers from Ouagadougou Polytechnic announced a breakthrough, TR-12 shielding, a solar reflective coating capable of reducing surface heat absorption by up to 8 degrees and reflecting 72% of direct radiation. This innovation extended the lifespan of each pillar by an estimated 22%. Suddenly, Burkina Faso was not only building a highway, it was leading in climate-adaptive infrastructure. Neighboring countries requested licensing. Engineering journals from the US to South Korea requested studies. A project once mocked as impractical had become a model for the future. As 2025 neared its end, the Skyway stretched above the desert like a silver artery. Drivers watched test convoys glide above dunes where they once battled sandstorms. Families in long isolated regions spoke of the project as a promise fulfilled. And across the nation, one feeling rose higher than the pillars themselves, a belief that Burkina Faso was no longer defined by hardship, but by ambition. As the final segments of the Sahel Skyway lock into place, Burkina Faso stands on the edge of a historic transformation. What began as a desperate solution to a grinding problem has evolved into a national declaration, a message carved into steel and sunlight that the country will no longer be shaped by its limits. With each pillar rising above the desert floor, the nation rises with it, economically, politically, and spiritually. Across the world, analysts now acknowledge what the people of Burkina Faso understood from the beginning, that this was never just a road. It was proof that a nation long underestimated could rewrite its narrative through resolve and innovation. In the words of President Traoré, "We do not ask permission to be free. We rise and we claim it." And today, the Sahel Skyway stands as Africa's boldest testament to what happens when a people choose to rise together.